fake to him. Whitlow rolling right on a keeper. Up across the 15. Cuts left at the 20. On the room at the 30. Headed to the near sideline. One man to beat. Makes the move at midfield. Coming to the near side at the 30. He's at the 20. He's at the 10. 5. Touchdown, Kentucky.
And we welcome everybody into another episode of Believe in Kentucky. We're live on Twitter and YouTube and Facebook. Follow us at Believe in Kentucky. My name is Vinny Hardy. Jalen Whitlow, you just heard his highlight courtesy of Tom Leach, former UK quarterback. And we are joined by a great guest tonight, Jalen. We got UK softball coach, 2014 NFCA National Coaching Staff of the Year, 2016 SEC Coach of the Year, 14 consecutive NCAA appearances. Coach Rachel Lawson is here with us. Coach, thank you so much for hopping on with us. How are you?
Oh, I'm good. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for taking the time. And your ears might have been burning. We've brought your name up a few times on this episode, and Jenna Becerra does the Believe in Softball podcast on the Believe Podcast Network. So she's kind of like a colleague of ours. You were on her podcast, and believe it or not, we've had her on here twice and hadn't had you on, which is, yes, we talked softball twice. Had her on before Mayhem and then had her on right when Mayhem was going on. So we talked softball and told her, I was like, we got to get Coach on here. We've had you on twice, haven't had Coach on here. So we are honored to have you on here with us now.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you. It's kind of fun talking to softball with you guys, like I guess in February, so almost. So I feel kind of honored. I got to be honest with you.
Lord. So how are you feeling about the season? You're 9 days away now?
We are. We start up next Friday. I guess we start up next Friday in San Diego. So feel really good about the team. It's a good schedule. We start out right away with a bang. So we'll get to not only get an opportunity to hopefully, get some wins, but also to kind of see what kind of team that we have. So we're really excited to get out there, get into some warmer weather and just get going.
Absolutely. That was one of my things I was wanting to ask you. And look, some of my questions might be basic. You might be thinking, what is this dude asking me? What is he really?
No, not at all. I'm good. I didn't even know we were playing tonight. So you're way ahead of me. So we're good.
If you were to divide the season up into thirds, the softball season, like the first third of the season, like you said, kind of finding out what kind of team you have, roles being defined, the middle third of the season, maybe maintaining the good rhythm that you have. And then the last third of the season, maybe the quote unquote dog days and everybody's looking forward to the postseason. Which third is the hardest or the most challenging or in your opinion?
Well, I'd like to say it works that way in softball, but it does and it doesn't. So, the beginning of the season, because we have 56 regular season games. So, but we'll probably play 20 to 24 games against before we start SEC play. So it's kind of divided up non-conference before SEC play. We get into SEC play. And then if you're good enough in those two, then you are kind of earn the right to the postseason. So it's not easy to go to the postseason in softball. But you have to win in the preseason. Well, you have to win in the non-conference season to even have a shot really at the postseason, which is kind of weird. But in softball, you're in control of your schedule and you're not. So for example, I signed up for a tournament in San Diego and we're expecting San Diego State, who's a super regional team, very good team. And, some other very good teams to get us going. Well, it turns out, a couple months ago, teams dropped out. They added teams. So now we're playing 2 World Series teams, 2 postseason teams, and something else, weekend 1. So you're like, whoa, what is going on? And you kind of need to win, a couple of those games so that you stay in the hunt to be able to host for the postseason, because you get to host in the sport of softball. So it's not predetermined sites. So right when you hit the ground running, you have to you're trying to build up your team, but at the same token, you have to get enough quality wins to put yourself in a position. We try to host at Kentucky. So, first you got to make the postseason, but if you can host, the teams that host definitely have a better shot at going to the World Series. So you're kind of constantly doing this juggling thing of, okay, you play 5 games on the weekend. It's the opening weekend. Your ace of a pitcher, who do you play her against? How many games do you win? You can't afford to lose to a bad team because that's going to kill your RPI, but you want to win the good team so you can host. So there's just a lot of moving parts the whole time. But so I'd say they're all important. The SEC is the best conference top to bottom in the country, no question, and you have to play well. So that's really tough too. So I don't know. I love it all. So it's good.
Okay. That makes sense. And speaking of Jenna, you start off with Stanford, right?
We first day, they're not our first game, but they're our first day, and we happened to play them twice. They're one of the teams that were picked up, so we didn't think we were going to play them, and then all of a sudden you're like, whoa, we got it's a game changer when you're playing Stanford, and they arguably have one of the best pitchers in the country, if not the best pitcher in the country, on their staff this year. So that'll be a real eye opener for our veterans will have played elite level pitching, but our freshmen, they're going to be like, what in the world is this? I mean, this thing's going to be coming 74 at them, and they're going to be like, whoa, it's going to be about a 10-mile-an-hour difference. And in softball, that's quite a bit. So it's going to be a fun weekend for sure.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. I remember, and I told this story multiple times on here, but softball was my favorite sport to go support in college. And my team, some of my teammates as well. Like I was in the class with Silver Samuel, Nikki, Christian Stokes, those girls.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, were in that class. So we used to come out and support all the time. And one thing I like to ask coaches is like, what do you feel? What do you feel is like the thing that keeps your program running at optimal level? It could be all off-season stuff, training, discipline, whatever. Like what do you think is kind of the edge that you guys have in the program?
Well, it starts with the people, and I know that sounds very cliche, but we have you met Christian, you met Silver, all those people. So they're great, right? They're great people. They're very steady. They work very hard. So we have a culture of people who believe they can win, but they know they have to work incredibly hard to win. So they don't take months off. They don't do silly stuff off the field, and we have to start back over or anything like that. So there's this really cool culture of people who like to have a good time, but they're very, they come to Kentucky because they want to play at an elite level, but they're very serious about what they do. They have a good time together, but they're disciplined. And so I think it starts with just how cool the people are, how disciplined they are. They're very down to earth too. Like in softball, you can get punched in the mouth. Like when you can like play a weekend and you're just like, what just happened? And you take 3 losses like that quick, and then you can turn around and win it. So I think it keeps you humble also. I mean, there's not a lot of arrogance running around or whatever. So I think everybody stays pretty grounded. So I think it starts there. And, it sounds funny, but we have a very consistent strength and conditioning program. Some of my favorite softball coaches were football coaches when I was growing up younger. So they'd coach the football in the fall. And then I don't know why they coach softball. I don't know if they needed extra money or what, but they're just like a bunch of dudes that are like, you're getting in the weight room, you're going to eat a lot, and you're going to play. And I kind of took that with me my whole life. And so we kind of run it probably more similar to, the off-season physical part of it. Like football, obviously we don't hit each other, but like, that kind of thing. So I think those two things are kind of the secret to what we do.
Yeah. And I, like you said, I can attest to that. I mean, those girls that I just named, I mean, they seemed pretty steady, pretty comfortable in who they were, down to earth. And I can see that, if I'm not mistaken, when I was there, you guys were like having really good. I mean, you guys have good seasons all the time, but really good seasons, and so I can definitely see that in the personnel, that you guys have, and and it shows. I mean, the success of the program. So that's good. I just wanted to see, because I'm always interested in like what keeps people afloat in their program. Like, how do they do it year in, year out, especially for somebody like you who's been doing it for a while and been pretty consistent. So that's good to know. Yeah,
I think the locker room in softball is different. Like, so softball and sports like basketball, because you play so many games, you're around each other all the time. So if you don't have cool people, I think it could go south in a hurry. I don't know about football. I think locker room matters, but you only play like 12 games or something like that, right? How many games do you play?
12 regular
So,
season.
yeah, you have your practice stuff, but you have a little bit of separation. These people are around each other all the time. So if they're not well grounded, I mean, it's just a disaster everywhere. So I think it really, really is important in softball.
And when you looking at the schedule, especially you talked about all the moving parts to how important the non-conference is, even, though it starts early at the end of the road, it plays a big factor. You guys have double hitters and, everybody's familiar with that, but sometimes you play two different teams in the same day.
Yeah.
So how do you scout that? How do you game plan that? And I don't know if that happens all the time. I was looking at the schedule. I'm like, man, it's not, a double dip against, North Carolina. It's North Dakota, and then it's Louisiana Lafayette. I'm like, how do you?
It's hard. I mean, it is so time consuming so I would say, softball coaches who really scout and stuff, I would say we probably don't sleep between February and this sounds odd, but when conference play starts, you get to sleep a little bit more because you're only scouting one team for a 3-game series. It's harder because, the teams are great and it's hard to beat a team 2 and 3 times or whatever. But yeah, it's tough. You're playing sometimes 4 to 5 different teams on a weekend, and like you have to beat them to have a shot in the postseason. And then not only that, when you're at the venue, so you're scouting going up to the games, but when you go to the venue, like you could have a game at, I don't know, 11 o'clock, and then you're in the stands scouting the teams that you're going to play maybe the next couple of days. And then you might play again at 4 o'clock. And so then you have to flip it to the team you're going to play. So there's just the preseason is pretty challenging, I would say. Technology has made it better. Just like a year ago, they started like you can click buttons and get people and stuff like that. But before it was all very manual and you had to watch full games and everything. It was pretty tough. But, like I said, luckily I like watching sports, so it's not that bad. It could be worse, believe me. I could be an accountant or something. I don't know. I don't know. Sorry, accountants, but
right. The accountants taking strays off the blue. They're like, man, sitting here crunching numbers and bam. But yeah, I definitely had to ask you that. You mentioned technology too. I saw you tweet out that you used the go route for the first time.
Oh my gosh.
And called the wrong.
So they don't have like all the pitches on a grid. They have it on a scroll. So, you're calling not only like, you don't just call curveball, you're like curve this side of the plate, this many balls off. So the scrolling list is like this. And every time I'd scroll it, I'd like hit a new button. I'm like, wait, no, but you only have like 20 seconds to get the pitch off. So you're just like, wait a minute. So I'm really looking forward to this the first weekend. This is going to be our pitcher's going to think I'm like, nuts. So it's going to be fun. Anyway.
So like
crazy.
Pitching backwards, you'll be pitching upside down.
They're gonna be like, wow, she is really up to her game. She is not predictable at all this year.
Yeah.
So, anyway.
That's crazy. So you see saw the commercial for the helmet, and now it's coming in to softball for no signs anymore. All that's just. Are you a fan of it? Are you embracing it?
I am. I am for a couple reasons. One, softball's played. The softball's best when you can keep it closer to 2 hours, and when the games start getting into 3 hours, we're like baseball, and you don't really want to watch that. Baseball's fun when you're in the stands and it's hot out and you can get a hot dog and whatever. But nobody wants to sit in front of a TV and watch for 2.5, 3 hours. And so softball games, we get more fans when we're closer. So I'm a big fan of anything that can reduce dead time. Also, teams have like, I don't even know, 10 managers chilling out in the dugout, just trying to pick you and everything. And it's just so annoying. So, I think, so when they're having a cow and how Michigan, whatever's picking signs, we're like, well, we do that every day. You know what I mean? Like softball and baseball, when in the pros, when they're having a cow, they're like, that's how college softball and baseball is. So it's just going to be nice to have the go route or whatever technology teams are going to bust out there.
So
in the grind of the season, like you just talked about how many games you guys play. I didn't know you guys played that many games. That's a lot. How do you, as a coach, kind of find that balance for your team to maybe have a day off here, or go do this as a team, some type of team outing to kind of keep them, it's all about balance, right? Try to keep them afloat when it comes to their, just being able to recenter, calibrate mentally without burning out.
Yeah, I do think it's tough. They have every Monday off. So you come back, it's, you go on a tournament, do whatever, you come home, you get home really late on Sunday, and then all day Monday is off. But with that said, they have school and whatever. So it's not really an off day. And then on our Tuesdays are kind of light. And then you might have a practice on Wednesday also, and then you're on the road again Thursday or doing whatever, especially in the preseason. So it is tough. We try to, when we're on the road, we try to do something in the locale that we're at. So for example, when we go out to San Diego State, we're going to have a morning when we'll fly in Wednesday. Thursday, we'll have a morning practice, and then we'll go to the San Diego Zoo, and then we'll have a good dinner with the team. So we try to, try to do something cool in the locations that you're going to be in. Obviously you don't do anything cool in Knoxville. No, I'm just kidding. But joking. But we try to do that in the preseason. And then, we're really try to develop relationships in the off season. And I know that sounds crazy, but if it's just business all the time, nobody's going to have a good time. So, we try to get to know each other really well. So you can, be okay being on the road together. And you're right. That's a big part of it. If you can't be on the road together, if you don't like each other, you're going to play like crap. So you got to figure that stuff out early and figure it out. But it for sure, it's a grind, and we're not traveling, we're traveling in charter buses and commercial flights. And it's not like we're getting on the tarmac and, some teams are chartering on planes everywhere. But we don't get to do that often. So you spend a lot of time together.
Yeah.
And with all those games, like that's more like a pro mentality from the standpoint of you're with your teammates and the team more than with your family. You're with you play 82 NBA games. They're with those dudes more than they're at home, and that's kind of the way it leans with you all playing 56 games. We're talking about Kentucky basketball right now, and it's like tied 58-58. They only play 40 tops, and that's if you make to the Final Four in the championship. And you guys are, 16 games more than that just in the regular season. Mm-hmm. Then you got a postseason on top of that. Unbelievable.
Yeah. We try to. So when we're on the road after a game, as long as it's not one of those late night games, but they go with their families and stuff like that. So their families travel really well, which is nice. It's a nice break for them. But yeah, that's why I like if somebody's just not cool, you got to get rid of them, because it's not like, wow, you're just like a pain between the white lines, but it's like, no, I got to deal with you all the time. And I figured if I don't like somebody, then my players are not going to like that person either. So back to how do we get along? You have to make sure you have really cool people, because not you're just stuck with them. And who wants, that's like having like a bad uncle or something. Like nobody wants to be stuck with that person. You know what I'm talking? I don't know if you know.
Yeah.
I have 11 siblings. Luckily, they're all pretty cool, but you don't want to be stuck with them.
You got 11?
I do. Yeah.
I got 6, and I thought I had a lot.
Yeah. No, they're all cool, but
Where are you at in there?
There are 9 girls. I'm the 9th girl. So I'm the 10th child. There were 2 boys after me. So pretty cool.
9 straight daughters. And
then, well, there was a boy in the middle of it. So okay. Yeah.
Man.
Yeah.
And you're the baby girl. Wow.
Oh yeah, I would like to say that, but they didn't treat me like the baby girl. I was just a girl. By the time you get down there, you're just another one, Oh, here comes another one.
Man. So everybody athletic, like sports like yourself?
Quite a few, yeah. Quite a few athletes. You're gonna laugh at this. My family did the rodeo, which was funny to me. So I got in sports because it was near where the rodeo was. I was like, I don't want to do that, but kind of a country team, like country family, hardworking, whatever. So it was pretty cool. We were rowdy for sure, very competitive, borderline aggressive, but you know.
Yeah, I would assume that. I mean,
Yeah.
it can't go any other way. It's
No,
that.
no.
And I always say, man, at some point, human beings got to be human beings. You get tired of being around people. You start getting chippy.
Oh yeah.
That's how it goes, and it's fun. I think it's just me. I'm the second oldest of the kids and whatnot. And yeah, once you get, I can see, sometimes the parents start to kind of taper off with their discipline.
Oh yeah.
You just that's the 6-1. Yeah, go ahead and go do what you want to do.
Yeah, it's like there's no curfew. Just don't wake us up when you come in. And if you get in trouble, you're just, if you ever get arrested, you're gonna stay in jail. I'm not waking up to come get you out. We'll get you the next day. Luckily I never got in any trouble like that, but that was kind of the mindset back then.
That's amazing.
Go figure it out.
So you played your college ball at UMass, and you were an all A-10 player while there. What was the scouting report on you? Did you pitch, or were you
No. I was a first baseman and a catcher.
Okay.
Did not pitch. My scouting report. Well, if I'm being honest, I think you could have taken all 9 people and put them on the left side of the field, and I still probably wouldn't have gotten a hit to the right side. I mean, I was a dead pull hitter.
Okay.
Back then there wasn't a lot of strategy. I remember the first time I hit up the middle and I was all kinds of confused, The sport was so different back then. You were just trying to make contact with the ball. It was at 40 feet. There was a white ball. Scores were so boring. They were like 2-1, 1-0. The sport of softball itself has really evolved since I played. Like, it was so long ago, I barely remember it. It was, and when I think about it, it's kind of funny to me. I have those reunions and all our teammates are like, yeah, these kids don't understand. Back in the day, we did blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. In my head, I'm thinking, you guys are nuts. Like, we didn't do anything like these people do it now. But, I just let them keep thinking that it's okay. And none of them are listening right now, so we're good.
You don't even burst their bubble.
No.
Man, so when it comes to like your recruiting, how is the state of Kentucky? How, as far as in-state in softball, from when you got to Kentucky to now, what's the talent level like for softball in Kentucky?
Well, it ebbs and flows like everything else. Mostly just because it's a state with a small population.
Mm-hmm.
But right now in my freshman class, this is pretty cool. We brought in 7 freshmen. 5 of them are from Kentucky, and 5 of them are like second generation Kentucky, like went to the University of Kentucky. So, and they're very good. They're very big. They're very strong. Their parents were athletes and stuff like that. So right now we're doing that. We had gone through a little stretch where we didn't have as many, but like 4 years ago, it was the same thing. We had like 5 people that started from the state of Kentucky. So it just kind of depends where you get them, but the players you get from Kentucky are elite. They make a huge investment in the sport of softball. They used to make a big investment in basketball, but they're figuring out that, softball, you don't have to be 6'2" to be an elite softball player or whatever, or a basketball player. I'm sorry. So, they're really getting into the sport of softball. They're traveling all over the country. I think ESPN has helped with that too, and things like these podcasts and stuff like that. So softball itself has really taken off, and some of the better players are from Kentucky. It's just there's not a lot of them because we're just such a small state, small population.
Yeah. And with that, kind of with that said, I know at least in my class, you had, I think, a few girls from Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
And, I live in Georgia or whatnot. So if you had to kind of rate like the top 3, what are the top 3 states for softball? Like where would everybody like to go recruit? Where's the abundance of good softball players?
I would say if you're going to states as a whole, Georgia is certainly up there because they play in the fall. So they play softball now all year. That really helps them. The state of Florida has some really good players. For whatever reason, they're not as organized as well as they could be. But, the talent in the state of Florida is off the charts. The state of Texas is phenomenal as a whole, and you get a lot of players. And then California is probably, for softball, is probably the elite because they're just so many. They grow softball players on trees out there. But So I'd say those are the 4 top, just in terms of the amount of the number of athletes, and then just how good they are. But there's softball players now all over the country.
Right.
It's just been such an investment. But those, to me, those are the big states. And then the thing that makes the sport of softball kind of different. So in football, when you get a scholarship, you get a full ride. But in softball and baseball, you don't get a full ride. They're partial scholarships. So a softball team has 12 full rides to give to everybody. But academic scholarships don't count. So when you're in a sport when you're a state like Georgia has the Hope Scholarship or whatever, you can, because it's an academic scholarship, they can kind of spread it out. And, Florida has the Bright Futures, or I might have them backwards or something. The state of Arkansas.
Oh, you're right. Yeah.
The state of Arkansas, you can, I think their school has in-state tuition if you touch the state of Arkansas. So there's all the different states or state schools have different rules. So depending on what those are, you can kind of stretch your scholarships out. The state of Kentucky really doesn't have a lot. So it puts schools, if you're in an equivalency sport, it puts us at a disadvantage in terms of depth. So I think that's probably the biggest recruiting disadvantage, I would say. I love the players we have and they're very good. So I feel okay about it, but I could see where that would be a real hardship. And I think that's why I was so impressed with what Minge did last year. Because baseball has 11-7 and they have 35 guys or something. I don't know how many they're allowed to travel, but that's not a lot of scholarships for how many people they have to have.
So if I hear you right, softball gets 12 full rides every year.
Yeah, and you cut them. Okay. Yeah, and you partial them out, but so you stack them with academic stuff. So if you have people who can qualify for academic money, you can add that together. Okay. So it makes, some schools give out academic money easier than others. So that's back to the states of Georgia and Florida and stuff like that. It's a little bit easier for them to build deeper rosters. That doesn't mean their starters are going to be better or anything. It just means they're going to be able to go deeper.
And you mentioned, recruiting and exposure and all that. And, Kentucky softball account earlier today tweets out that you guys are going to be on some ESPN platform for 12 games. SEC Network, ESPNU, ESPN2, Longhorn Network or ACC Network for 12 of the games from February through May. So more exposure.
Oh, yeah.
Better for recruiting for you, getting in more, households in different areas of the country and things like that, right?
Oh, yeah. I think ESPN's just been one of the coolest things ever to happen to the sport of softball, just being on TV all the time. By the time the season is over, something crazy like 400 softball games will have been broadcast on one of the ESPN platforms. So really, really cool. And then we also live stream. So on the Plus, we get to do all of our home games, and all the SEC teams will do all their home games. So tons of exposure. It makes the game great. Everybody's getting stadiums because of it and everything. It's a really fun, if you're a sport fan, it's a really fun sport to watch because you get to be right there. The fans are kind of crazy, and softball players are kind of physical, and I don't know. It's just a neat sport if you go live, and it's a good TV sport too if you can keep it close to the 2 hours.
Mm-hmm. And the stadium is awesome. John Crop Stadium is great.
Yeah.
Jenna, y'all talked about hadn't been there. Maybe she can get there this year and get herself to Lexington to see.
I'd love to have her. Yeah. It's a great place. Yeah. It's a great venue. If she comes on an SEC weekend, it's a really, those Saturday and Sunday games are packed. So it's a really fun place to be.
Yeah, it definitely is. Now, you mentioned also that there's times you got to work on being mouthy with the officials or less mouthy with the officials. Have you ever gotten ejected?
Oh, yeah. Well, only twice. I mean, I personally would eject me a little more than I do, but I don't think they like filling out the paperwork. But, they're pretty, I will be honest with you, they're pretty tolerant of all SEC coaches, really. But yeah, and they're right there. I mean, it's something they're right there, and you're like, come on, that was a strike or whatever it is. But and the game is so fast now. Some of them, the guys who keep up are great. Some of them just haven't kept up with the speed of the game. So they're kind of painful to watch. But luckily we don't have that many in the SEC. So it's good.
How common or uncommon is ejections between, you and your other coaches, league-wide, non-conference? How often does it happen?
Gosh, I might be speaking out of turn, but they'll probably be like 10 in league play, maybe across the whole thing. It's kind of one of those things at some point you almost have to, in the sport of softball, baseball, you almost have to get ejected at least once, or you're just not a good coach, I guess. Like I know the fans get mad when you don't yell at the umpire, the fans get super mad. So you have to find that like fine line between, all right, am I going to yell about this? Is this going to get everybody jazzed up or whatever the case is? So it's just kind of part of the culture.
Yeah. So, you mentioned, we talked about the go route already. You've been a fan of technology.
Mm-hmm.
You in baseball now, it's just, to me, become household. You hear, exit velocity and launch angle. Is that coming into softball as well?
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's been there for a while. And remember, every softball player and every baseball player's, dad or uncle or somebody is a hitting coach. So like they'll get on YouTube and they start looking up like exit velo or whatever, launch angle. And then after about a year of some popular YouTube thing, everybody's like tilted and trying to hit it over the fence. And, it's, I think that's a forever thing. But it's fun. Luckily there's a lot of good material out there so that they're getting good instruction. The coaching at the youth level is a lot better than it used to be than when I first started this gig. So they're coming into Kentucky game ready. So I feel good about that. But it's here. And I'm like, yeah, that launch angle is great. As you like get your butt back to the dugout because you just missed 3 times because there's a rise call. But
you swing for the fences, I guess.
Yeah, they're like, yeah, you're messing my swing. I was like, no, you got a hole like this big kid. The kid's throwing it this direction and you're tilting. So I don't, But
is there, and we know, look, the rise ball is, that's like the sinker in baseball. You can't lay off of it. You think you can get to it. And does anybody really throw a lot of sinking stuff? Or
yes, people do throw stuff. It doesn't have quite the bite you do in baseball because the distance is shorter. But those are all your ground balls. But right now in softball, because that we've changed the pitching rules a little bit, which is a good thing. But people are throwing so hard now. So a softball, it's pretty common now for a softball player to be upper 60s. And when you start getting over 65, that's like 90 to 100 in baseball. So just about in the SEC, the reaction time is close to 100. At least 2 out of the 3 games that you're going to play in SEC play. So that's really, really changed things. So back to like your launch angle and stuff. Yeah, you're going to be trying to hit 70 and doing all. It's just not going to happen. I mean, it's not very realistic. I mean, this is one thing live. It is so, when you see these pitches live and you're up close, it's impressive. It's pretty hard.
You just worry about timing it up and making contact.
Yeah.
Forget trying to time it up with a launch angle and all this kind of
getting the protractor out.
Yeah.
Because if you hit it, it's going to go somewhere. The field is so tiny, but hitting it's the right. And you're just trying to not look like a fool before you go back to the dugout, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I got to ask you this too before we let you go, Coach. I've asked Coach Madison this several different times, had him on different podcasts before. But what in your memory is maybe the best play that you've ever seen, like a jaw-dropping play that has went your way when your team has made it, whether offensively or defensively? What's the most jaw-dropping play that's went against you to where it's like, I just gotta tip my cap? That was an amazing play. What's
oh gosh, I mean, so many, both directions. I would say, in 2000, pretty recently, the last time actually we hosted in John Kropp Stadium. Every time we've hosted in John Kropp, we have advanced to super regionals or whatever. And we had lost to Notre Dame, and we had to beat them twice to go on. And our second baseman made a diving play In the same game, there were two. Our second baseman made a diving play going backwards into right field and somehow caught a ball. And that was the stop that we needed to take us to super regional. So I thought that was cool. And in that same game, our center fielder made a diving play backwards into the fence and almost just smashed her face and everything. So that was pretty cool. But anyway, those two plays in that one game, I think it's when the games propel you forward kind of situation. Gosh, I'm trying to think of against us. Oh, it would have been the first time we would have gone to a postseason game or something like that. And I would just remember the left fielder from Alabama, climbed the fence, basically caught the ball, whole body is completely over the fence and somehow brought it back in. And that home run would have been the one to propel us to our first postseason, NCAA tournament or whatever. So that was kind of a heartbreaker, but God, that's a tough one. I'd have to really think that one through. There's been so many amazing plays that I've seen on both sides of it.
Yeah. Well, last thing, tell us, some of the listeners, new names to watch for. We know the veterans, we know the household names. Who are some new up and comers that you think we're gonna soon know pretty well, but don't know quite yet?
Well, I would say offensively right now, Allie Hutchins is a freshman, and right now she's top 2 on the team this January in every offensive category. So it's her and our veteran, our senior, who's on Aaron Koffel. So I would say Allie Hutchins. And then on the mound, Sydney Langdon. Once she gets a little experience, she's really special. She's from Georgia, and she's a freshman pitcher, but she's really, really good. So I think those two are if I was just going to pick 2 and one on each side of the ball, I would pick those 2 names for sure.
Good stuff, Coach. We're looking forward to seeing y'all get it going here next week out there out west and crossing the country, coming back to Florida, and getting February out of the way so y'all can get some home games and some warm weather at John Crop. Thank you so much for taking the time, and wish you all the best all year long. Always pulling for you and always appreciate you. And thank you so much for taking time to hop on with 2 dudes you didn't even know, and you still chopped it up with it.
Oh, you guys are great. I had fun. All right. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Good luck.
Absolutely.
All right.
Yes,
thank you.
Appreciate
all right.
it.
Nice meeting you guys. Thank you.
All
All right. Bye.
Coach Rachel Lawson, February 9th kicks off. They got Stanford and West Coast trip, warm weather and all that good stuff. So appreciate her coming on to chop it up, give us a little preview, and get everybody ready, man. It's time for them to get it going.
Yeah, man. Like I said, I enjoy watching softball. I think it's really competitive. The game is fast. I just think it's a good sport. So, maybe one day I'll go out there and check out a game. But yeah, good luck to coach and the squad, man. I think, make a run this year, see what they can do.
I got to get back. It's been a little while since I've been to a softball game. And I haven't been to the new baseball stadium. I've been to the Cliff, but the Kentucky Proud Park right there beside Kroger Field.
I haven't been either.
So I got to get to a game up there. It's money well spent into that facility. And it was jumping last year because, like she mentioned, the baseball team made it to the super regional and stuff like that. So, nice stadium, nice facility. So, yeah, looking forward to it, man. Get March Madness, which is almost here because this year's already flying by. And then after March Madness, then it's baseball and softball. We have a spring game, baseball and softball until you roll through the summer. Got to tell everybody about, man, our Autograph app, man. We partnered up with Autograph, where everybody that listens to podcasts like ours, consumes content, reads UK articles, this app consolidates it all into one place, Jalen, man. I went on there, you click podcast, we pop up, all the other UK podcasts that people like, it's all right there. All you got to do is click it and listen. If you want to read an article from a Sea of Blue or whatever, it's all right there. You got to check out the Autograph app. And you want to get rewarded for listening to our show, the team at Autograph, co-founded by Tom Brady, is redefining the fan experience by letting users earn points for the acts of fandom they take every day, like listening to this show. The Autograph Fandom app gives you access to all your favorite Kentucky content in one place and offers rewards like tickets, exclusive merchandise, and more. You're already listening to our show, but now you can earn points and get rewarded for it. So head over to the Apple App Store and search for Autograph Fandom Rewarded and download it for free today using our referral code Believe Kentucky, BLEAV Kentucky, all together. The link in the code will also be in this podcast description. And look, if you're a fan of another team, first of all, bless your heart. But if you're a fan of another team, you can download the app, use our code, and then click on your team and get all that content. Michigan was the first school that Autograph partnered up with. And look, Tom Brady was a co-founder. That makes perfect sense. He went to Michigan. But Wisconsin is on there. There's, I think, North Carolina. They came to Kentucky. After they did Michigan, they came and started partnering up with Kentucky podcasters and content creators. But if you're a fan of some other school, you can still use our code, download the Autograph app, and then access the content for your squad. So definitely do that. It's a cool app. And you get points for doing stuff. You read an article, you get points. You listen to a podcast, you get points. Your points pile up, and then you get offers, you get discounts for merch and different things like that. I got an offer the other day. Let me pull it up right now. For 20% discount for the Home Field store, Kentucky Apparel. Just sent me a little code. Go online to Home Field, 20% off of my purchase for UK stuff. Just for listening to some podcasts and reading some articles in the Autograph app. It's that easy. Let them pile up. Got more stuff you can become eligible for, more rewards that are right there for you. So good stuff, man.
No doubt.
Got to get your thoughts, man. We had an episode yesterday, AG and I, since he's at the game tonight, the big news of the week, football-wise, Eric Wolford coming back. So he's going to be the offensive line coach, Zach Yenzer. They parted ways with him. So I had to get your thoughts on that, because that kind of turned everybody's heads, man. It was kind of some shocking news from a couple of days ago.
Yeah, man. I think it's a good hire. Definitely when it comes to schematics and kind of the, I guess, relationship on the field between the coaches and the players. Obviously, Wolford has been there in the year in 2021 when he was there. They really had a solid year, a good year, a great year on offense, actually. So, that's good. You hate to see a coach who feel like he poured it all into the program, get let go. However, as we know, it's a business, and I'm sure Cohen is kind of happy to have Yenzer back, from Alabama. Now, I'm sure in the office that, one of the first things, okay, what did you learn from Alabama that we can use to help enhance what we're doing and enhance, and increase our guys' ability to be successful, on game day. So I think it's good, man. You get some continuity there. You get a guy who obviously has a track record with Stoops, and there's some familiarity there that can really help. It's all about being cohesive at the end of the day. And when you got a chance. When everybody's on the same page, everybody has the same plan. Those teams always have a shot, especially when you're physical up front. His O-lines have been physical up front, have been productive. So, good get back. So, I'm sure they hated him, and I'm sure they had a few jokes of him, going to Alabama and Nick Saban retiring and he having to come back and whatnot. But I'm sure they'll iron that thing out pretty quick and get back to business as usual.
Yeah, and like you said, he was here when Cole was here. They were there both a year, but they were there together, so they know how each other works or are familiar with each other. With Saban retiring at this point of the year, he would have been out of a job. I guess he was probably looking to, like Aaron said, he might have been trying to be like an analyst for somebody or something because there wasn't ordinarily any openings until Kentucky kind of sees that, hey, we can get him, and then they made a space available for him. So, and we had talked too about with Liam Cohen, if he were to leave, because I think he interviewed with Tampa Bay today, if something happens and he was to leave, Kentucky's probably having to make a panic hire because it's February the 1st here in a couple hours, and you need an OC, and you get scrambling around. I guess in their minds, with Wolford coming available, they can upgrade, and it's not a panic move. That's what we think. End of the day, this guy can maybe do a better job than what Yinzer had been doing. Yeah. You mentioned physicality up front, and Big Blue Wall wasn't really what it was under Coach Schlarman and even the year under Wolford. So they felt the need to maybe pull the trigger and upgrade at that position group or at that coaching spot. So,
yeah, I mean, like you said, at the end of the day, we always get reminded and smacked in the face that this thing is really a business, man. I mean, because you got a coach who, I thought they had a solid season this year, better than it was in 2022, and maybe he was going to keep building that thing. Because at the end of the day, we can say Big Blue Wall, and yes, but we got a different guy in that room. It's different, and it takes time for you to get your culture set in your offensive line room. And maybe he felt like his culture was on the rise in the room. Guys getting to know him, he getting to know the guys. And like you said, this thing is a business, man. So they made a switch, and it's such a business that, like I said, don't be surprised you grab your phone in the middle of the night and see an update that Liam Cohen is the new OC with the Tampa Bay Bucks or whatever. I wouldn't be shocked. And now, as Stoops, you got to go out and make an OC hire and kind of figure out what you want to do with that. You just got a new receiver coach, so it's not like you got Woody who you can maybe move into that spot if he was ready for that. Now you got to really go out and go find a guy from the outside. If I had to guess, I'm not sure if they have anybody on staff that's ready to be an OC at this level. So, that like I said, I'm glad that I'm not a head coach in college right now. It's just so much. It's nonstop. It doesn't stop, especially when you're at a school with good coaches, because people are going to try to take your coaches. And now also your coaches are going to try to upgrade when you have coaches, period. So they're going to try to take the next step in their career. So, it's a lot of work, I'm sure. However, Kentucky has had a good track record of attracting good coaches. So, I'm sure Stoops got to probably meet with his quarterbacks and receivers and offensive line and say, hey, we're going to bring somebody in here that's worthy of you staying here and having success. So it's just a lot of dynamics that go into it. Even the business has trickled down to the players, because now, rightfully so, you're going to get some players to say, hey, the coach that I wanted to play for is not here. So why am I here? So there used to be a time where players used to go to schools because they liked the school. They liked what the school had to offer. They liked the area, the city, state, whatever. Now it's strictly based on they want to play for a certain coach, which that's always been that a little bit, but they want to play for a certain coach, and how much money can they make? They're not really worried about as much as they used to. I'm sure there's some out there, but worried about the school and academics as much. Now this thing is, the business has trickled down to the 18-year-old freshman now. So it's just a lot. So hopefully, hopefully for everybody around it, they can get some sleep and knowing that, they got a solid foundation and their coaches aren't trying to move around and rock that foundation. So that's all you can ask for as a coach, I'm sure.
Yeah. So, he'll have a few weeks to kind of reacclimate and see what he's got and see his room. And, apparently he was, we talked about what a good recruiter he was last week, with all the Detroit guys he brought in. And so they'll get that back, with his ability to bring in talent, which is, just, but you got to have it. So Let's see what happens, man. What else is anything else jumping out on for you that we had the AFC Championship game, NFC Championship game. We can talk Super Bowl even more next week. But your thoughts on I think you wanted Baltimore Detroit, right?
Yeah, I did, man. I got a lot of theories about this thing, man. I don't know. But yeah, I wanted to see Baltimore Detroit. I wanted to see something different. Obviously, I like watching the Ravens. I like watching Lamar. Not a Louisville fan, but guys, that is one of my favorite players ever to watch play football. He is just spectacular. They, didn't play as well as he could on last Sunday. However, when he's playing well, he's the best player in the league, obviously, and it's a reason why he's probably on his way to his second MVP. I love the way Detroit play, physical. You can tell they play as one unit. As a coach, I love to see that. They came out and smacked 49ers in the mouth, and something changed. Before half or right at half, and that thing changed around. So, I guess we'll be happy to watch the Super Bowl this year. To be honest with you, I don't really care about it. If I'm being 100% honest, I don't care who wins. I don't care how it goes. I think a lot of people are tired of seeing these, definitely the Chiefs. Now, I will say I admire the schematics, no doubt. I nerd out on that coach as a coach. I love seeing it. But, from just a fan perspective, just a fan of the game, I wanted to see something different. I wanted to see some different teams in there, some different energy in there, some different quarterbacks, some different storylines. The Dan Campbell storyline was, outstanding what he did with that organization. So I kind of wanted to see that, but it is what it is, man. I'm sure everybody will be watching anyway. Two great teams, playing at the highest level of football that you can possibly play at in the Super Bowl. So, we'll see what happens. The whole Taylor Swift thing is kind of taking on a life of its own. I think that's a great business move by the NFL, by the way. Really good business move. But, I'm sure it'll bring some excitement to the TV screen.
Yeah, definitely. And Aaron talked about Dan Campbell had done this all year, but man, you just keep going for it on fourth down, and you couple field goals. If you kick a field goal and go up 27-10, maybe you're able to change the direction of the game. I'm a Cowboys fan. I saw him playing the Cowboys, and he went for two over and over and over again, and Dallas won that game 20-19. They went for two. I think it was a penalty on them. It got moved back. He still went for two. Then it was a penalty on the Cowboys, and it got moved back to the 2-yard line. He still went for two. He just so that's what he does, and it just didn't go his way. As a coach, you can't. If you do it, you can't change it up. Like I tell people all the time, I respect it because if I'm a player. And all season, my coach has been aggressive. But now we get in the biggest moment of the year. He's not aggressive. I have lost confidence in the guy. Why not be aggressive now? Like we've made it this far, and we were aggressive. And we get in the biggest moment, and now we're not. Man, so like I said, it's easy. It's easy for me to say yes. They should have kicked the field goal, especially on one of them. They should have kicked the field goal. However, when you've been that aggressive all year, players love coaches that do stuff like that. That you feel empowered, man. You feel like your coach is one of the guys when he's going for it in those type of situations. So I'm sure those guys in the locker room, were like, man, I respect it. Now the kicker may not have been happy, but I'm sure everybody else was like, man, we've been doing it the whole year. Coach, I respect the fact that you still did it in this. That's a guy I can believe in. That's why he galvanized the organization that way. That's just who he is, I think. So, who's to say, like, if they happen to catch a couple balls down the stretch, they end up winning that game. Not everybody's that's a great call. It's a great call when you win. It's a bad call when it don't go well. So, I get what everybody's saying. However, I also see it from a
in the locker room standpoint, when my coaches have been doing this all year, don't change it up now. We've had success. Whatever their record was, they only lost 6 games throughout the year, whatever, 7 games. So let's keep this thing rolling. So, shout out to them, man. I think, I'm sure that's did wonders for that area, that city, and hopefully we see him back, next year. I mean, you got Josh Pascal on the team.
Yeah.
You got, Deion Hamilton, who I know personally, who's from my hometown, that played for Alabama, who's coaching on that coaching staff. So I was kind of happy to see them make it that far, man, because when the last time Detroit has ever had a season like that? I mean, not in my lifetime.
No.
So,
90, 92, I think they made the NFC Championship game and lost to Washington. So yeah, that's the 30 years since they were doing anything close to this.
Yeah. So
30 plus years. Yeah.
32 years. So hey, they're doing a good job for themselves, man.
Yeah. Kentucky up 83-79, 28 seconds left. Like they're trying to hang on and beat Florida. And that was my whole thing. Look, you can't look ahead to Tennessee coming in Saturday. They're top 5 and all that. And you can't, just assume that since you beat Florida down there already a few weeks ago, that it was just going to be light work just because you played them in Rupp Arena. And it's been a dogfight all night, but you hang on for 28 seconds and you'll get another win. I might put you on the spot right quick before we wrap up, but it might not. But you said last week, Roquan Smith, you being an offensive guy, a quarterback, Roquan Smith is one of the guys that will make you watch defensive football. So if you had a top 3, top 5 defensive players that you watch, okay, this guy will make me watch defensive football, who is on Jalen Whitlow's list of defenders that he will watch on that side of the ball?
Right now.
Right now, or in your lifetime, or however you want to do it.
All right. Definitely Roquan Smith. I think he just got that old school mentality he brings to the field, so I like watching that. I used to love watching Tyrann Mathieu. I used to love watching Patrick Peterson. Patrick Peterson coming out of college was one of my favorite players to watch. He was a returner. He played, corner, and he was a dog. So I enjoyed watching him even as his first couple years in Arizona. I think he was one of the best players in the NFL. Tyrann Mathieu as well coming out of LSU. Who else? I thoroughly enjoyed this is college, but watching Caleb Downs. Caleb Downs is the best high school football player I've ever seen. And I don't know how close it is, to be honest with you. Well, it is close because Travis Hunter's on that list too. I coached against Travis Hunter back in 2020 when he was a junior in high school at Collins Hill High School around here, and we could not throw the ball to his side of the field. He made every play. And watching Caleb Downs, man, Caleb Downs is probably the most well-rounded young football player I've ever seen. You put him at any position on the field, even in the state championship game a couple years ago, he was the best player when he was at running back. He was the best running back on the field. And when he was taking a snap at quarterback, he was the best athlete on the field. He was taking his snap at safety. He was the best player on the field. So he was one of those guys that I enjoyed watching. Obviously, like Ray Lewis. Ed Reed was an absolute dog. I enjoyed watching him. So it's hard for me to rank them. And I'm missing some. I know I am. However, those guys were some of the guys that I really, as an offensive guy, I really enjoyed watching. I could go back. Man, I mean, who am I missing? Troy Polamalu. I mean, I could go all the way back. What's the Asante Samuel? All of those guys. I mean, I was a little bit too young to really grasp Deion Sanders. When I was really watching him, he was already in the back end of his career in Baltimore and whatnot. But I enjoy watching those guys. Cam Chancellor was one of my favorite players to watch. Cam Chancellor was an absolute beast playing safety. So yeah, man. Earl Thomas, that whole LOB in Seattle those couple of years, you know, that was crazy. But yeah, those a few guys, man.
Yeah, that's a good list. Good list. And from the before your time, I mean, you got to put Reggie White and Lawrence Taylor on there, but that's way before you.
That's before my time. Like I said, I always like to, you know, you got people my age who they cape for Michael Jordan as the greatest ever, but they never really watched Michael Jordan in his prime. I remember playing NBA Live 2003, and we playing, you know, I got, you know, Jordan on the Wizards and whatnot. And watch that's all I really know. I could go on YouTube and you can look at full games on YouTube with Michael Jordan, but I never take the time to do it. I've seen the highlights, everybody talk about him, but I was like, I can't really like the LT thing. I can't say that I enjoy watching him or he's in my top 5 because I never really watched him. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. Like I'm sure he was great, and obviously the highlights say he was, but I you know, I can go based on what I've seen. And based on what I've seen, you know, what's the guy named Clemens from the Seahawks a few years ago, back in like 2012, 2011, 2013. He was a DN. He's related to Josh Clemens that played running back at Kentucky. That's his cousin.
Okay.
So yeah. You know, do you remember Derek Tatum? Played for Kentucky?
Name sounds familiar.
And I asked that because he's around here. He does like camps and stuff around here. I didn't know he played for Kentucky, but he said he played for Kentucky. And I wanted to make sure I asked you that if you remember.
Yeah. Name sounds familiar, but and we are in overtime, by the way. I don't know what happened. Up 4 with 28 seconds, and now it's tied going to overtime. Wow. So I don't know. I blinked and the game got tied.
I was just about to say that's good that they're winning close games. I'm glad I didn't say that.
Dude, tape. Yeah, I have to look him up, man, because I'm not. Yeah, but what position did he play? You remember?
I think he played DB. I think he played corner or safety.
Let's see. Oh, here he is. Like maybe back in Lorenzen's time or something like that. Yeah, I have to look him up, man. But yeah, okay.
Yeah, I was just curious if you remember them, but yeah.
Yeah, man, but it's just had to get your thoughts, man. Since you were here yesterday, had some football news and, you know, get the predictions or whatever for the Super Bowl next week and all that because we got all that. But get off of here and see if Kentucky can gut this one out. They did grind one out at Arkansas Saturday. That was, you know, 63-57, and their shots wasn't falling. You know, they scored 90 points a game and they scored 63 and 1, so that was good. I will have to see what happened to go from up 83-79 though with 28 seconds left, and then next thing I know they jump ball for overtime. Something crazy happened, but all part of the ups and downs of the season, and we'll talk about this and more next week as well. But appreciate you hopping on tonight, Jay.
No doubt, man.
Thanks to Coach Lawson for hopping on, talking some softball, man. We definitely appreciate that, and looking forward to their starting their season. Everybody subscribe and check out the podcast. Check out the Autograph app. Watch us on YouTube live. Wherever you get your podcast, you can watch or listen however you want to do it. We appreciate you. Everybody be safe and have a good night, and we'll holler at y'all next week on another episode of Believe in Kentucky. We'll catch y'all next time.